Hello and welcome to another episode inside of the post-production part in the texture series. And I have to give you here, of course, a very boring introduction. And sorry for that, but I have learned this pretty much a decade ago, and it's industry standard, so to say. And the faster you get used to it, if you are not using it already, the better you are off, because just to name files like test or final is something that doesn't work on the long run. And if you just start out to revamp your whole library for textures, good naming systems are very, very important. When you follow along in Cineversity since a while, you might have seen that I have really a scheme. This is Cineversity 2. So I know exactly when I have posted this. If I can find the post or the thread in Cineversity 1, then it's only CV, and CV2 is after the update _. And some people might tell you it's not really needed. You can have an open space there. I have a complete different idea about this, because when you work finally with your library in a different country, for example, and you have to do this with completely different systems and languages and font sets, it might not really help you when you have to replace all of this. I have done over a decade ago a lot of work in the graphic industry, and I had to send out my files to print houses all over the world, and some couldn't read my files because I had no underscore in it. And your client gets upset with you because there's always a delay, especially when you're in different time zones. They notice it when you are in the bed and you get it back when the other ones are in the bed, and so on. There's no communication sometimes possible. So I do not listen to people who tell me I can leave here space. What else is very important when we talk about this stuff? No special signs. I see sometimes people putting in an asterisk or an exclamation mark or whatever, even an @ sign. An @ sign is certainly the worst case scenario, because some computer translate this into a complete different mindset. It's very dangerously to just think, oh, I get away with it on my computer, so it will work on the whole world. It's not always the truth. And when you send out files to a render farm, it might be that they have take caution to get everything clear and nice, but it's not a good idea to get sloppy here, because you do not save time. You can only lose time here. So first of all, I use this here as my main group. Then release 15 or 12 or 11 or release 20, whatever you like, is of course then that I know I need to have this file format for this application. That is, of course, for images a complete different story. Then I'm used to work in a way that people can use my naming convention and put maybe Sire little logo inside of that. And if that is ABC or something like that, it's totally up to you. It should be always 3 letters. This is here my sign for 2013. So I know exactly when I have done this, and I have already a little hierarchy in my files. The next file here in Cineversity is then MG for motion graphics, MO, for example, for modeling, AN for animation, and so on. I can identify instantly what I have done. Sometimes I have no idea what I'm putting in. I just make something up where I go. Or it is maybe just a short for an inheritance effector, and so I put there the letters in. And then, of course, the versioning. I have most of the time not more than 10 versions from one file, because I think then it's time to start over. So sometimes I start with the next file with the name here. When the theme or the thread is the same, then 11 or 21 and 20 or whatever. And so you get already an idea. I have everything nicely and neatly ordered, and I can do this also by date or by changing the when it was generated. That's of course my little fun to have, and to see exactly when I have my bunch of MoGraph files, then I know exactly everything works here. From the same year, from the same version, I can grab these files. Very simple, very fast, and when you get used to it, it's maybe a little bit work, but it's very, very useful. Of course, in Macintosh, for example, when you have your viewfinder, they have these little areas, and then you get the first few letters from the file and the last letters from the file, and then you get this and this, which is certainly not that helpful. Sometimes you have to double click here. We can close here my little chapter. Then we come here to the hierarchy of namings, and it should be always go from the larger, from the biggest, from the tallest group, if you like so, to the smaller versions. The more important something is, the more it should be on the front, on the left side, and then you go down into the hierarchy. So main could be maybe just that it's all about images, or all about forest, or all about wood, and then you have a subfolder where you put maybe the difference in it that makes the main group a little bit more transparent, what you have finally in it, which kind of wood, for example. And it's not limited to that. Just find the biggest group that you want to use and then go down. The localization or the info, whatever fits here inside, maybe with 3 letters, maybe with 4 or 5, but stick with the letter amount, so everything looks exactly the same, and underscore. Then give it maybe an individual name. If you do exactly the same texture, but maybe with a different variety, a different kind of a name is sometimes very helpful. Also here, try to keep it with the same amount of letters. Then put the version in, or just the date. The date is more stable because we think in linear time versions, and version is not a final or test or whatever, because after final comes final 2, then final 3 and final 5 and so on. It's not something that you can put in. You never finish a work, you only give up, as the saying is. Sorry when I make a little joke here, but I see sometimes files that is my test, my file, my problem, or final. This is horrible when you get those files all over the time, because it piles up. You have 50 times test cinema 4D, test cinema 4D, test cinema 4D. You don't know where the file is that you have to work on, so you waste time, and time is for everyone the most important part, because everything else comes after that. Time would be here on the front. So just joking. And then the format. You might think I get away when I put the suffix in, and sometimes when this is gone and the headline in the format is gone as well, no application can really figure out what's going on. And so the format is sometimes critical to put in. And one more tip, and I got this from the Pixel Corps. When you use folders and you use the same naming convention, maybe it's a good idea to use capital letters. And then for the files itself, just small letters. And if you get a listing from all the stuff that is in a disk or whatever, then you can see already this is a folder, this is a file. Might not work all the time to your liking, but it's maybe one more step to read very fast what you get. So this is only a short little idea, and if you find your own system, perfect. I don't want to say that I have here the best and the only working format here. I have seen way longer ones, I have seen much shorter ones, and I have seen, of course, a lot of worst case scenario where you really had no idea what you get after 3 or 4 years. Keep always in mind, in the moment you create this, it's in front of you. You know exactly what you do. But maybe perhaps 20 projects later, you have no idea what you get, and during a deadline, that's pure fun. Thanks for listening. Have fun with it. Bye bye.